On November 8th, there's a lunar eclipse conjunct Uranus, the planet of disruption, change, and could make a 180-degree flip in your life. How is this going to affect you? That's what we're going to talk about. Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, here today to talk to you about the lunar eclipse. It's on November 8th. It's at 16 degrees of Taurus. We are going to do a short overview and then we're going to go sign by sign. One way that you can see how an eclipse is going to affect you is to go back and look at previous eclipses, especially ones that were in this sign around this degree. So the last one that we had was just a few months ago. It was at the end of April and it was at 10 degrees of Taurus. This was a solar eclipse, not a lunar eclipse. So go back in your calendar and look at about 2 weeks before, so from about mid-April to 2 weeks after, so about mid-May, and see what was going on in your life. It's possible that this will be a continuation of that energy, but it's also possible it'll just be something that is similar. So for example, one of my clients said that at that time, she was helping a friend move. She was helping her friend pack and move boxes and get unpacked. And so this eclipse could have something to do with her own home, or she'll be helping somebody else move. Now, what's different about this lunar eclipse than previous eclipses at this degree is this eclipse is conjunct Uranus. So Uranus is the planet of sudden change. Uranus causes this energy of feeling like you want to do something differently, that you might be agitated, and the people around you could feel this way. They may feel that they want to break free of something, and so that can be something that is actually happening in your path. Uranus also can cause something to flip 180 degrees, and that is that, it was going north and now it's going south, or that it was an absolute go and now it's an absolute no. This energy is also very much about being self-willed and being determined to go your own way. And so you may find that you're wanting to break free of something just because it feels too limiting or too boring. So because Uranus can cause this exaggerated response, you may find that people around you who are usually calm and collected are losing their temper, or that people who had been taking a very, straight and narrow path suddenly want to go a whole new direction. Now, out in the world, that's going to create some very excitable energy. And since this world already operates at this very high note of almost like screaming at us all day long, we can expect this kind of to turn that volume up to 11. Now, this also may mean that there could be some very disruptive weather patterns. And so Uranus would be a sudden storm, or it could be earthquake. Now, of course, that means it could be a literal earthquake, but earthquakes themselves, from an astrological standpoint, are very hard to predict. So we can use things when we look at weather charts to see whether we think that the earth is going to shake. But in general, it's hard to pinpoint an earthquake because you need to first find the location, and because we don't know the location, you would have to look at every place on the earth. So it's just really challenging to predict earthquakes. This energy is more like a metaphoric earthquake in your life. So when you think of this energy, because Taurus is like a mountain, it's fixed earth, and so a mountain doesn't move. And so, but Uranus is about sudden change. So how do we get a mountain to suddenly change? We turn it into a volcano, or we turn it into an earthquake. So when you think of this, the symbol that could work for this energy is the tarot card, the Tower. And I guess I should say at this moment, if you're interested in learning more about the tarot or becoming a professional tarot reader, I have a video course on this. There's a link in the description. So, but when we look at the Tower card, what we're seeing is people who were safe and snug and feeling very smart that they had built this castle and they had what they needed, etc. And then suddenly there's disruption. But what it doesn't show us is when all of the dust settles, these people can still rebuild their lives and rebuild it better. And that's because the things that got destroyed are not the things that are really that matter. And that is their resourcefulness, their skills, and the people that they connect with. Those are things that can't be taken away. So this is to look at where you may be leaning on something that feels solid but's not, and then figuring out how you can have, parts of your life that you can lean on because they are truly solid. So if you remember, just 2 weeks ago, we had the solar eclipse in Scorpio, which was about resources. And so this is a time where you want to shore up your resources. And that may mean that you are getting supplies at home, but also figuring out what skills you need to have and what connections you need to have so that you can be resourceful when the time comes. So we're going to talk in a second about whether your chart is being particularly hit in this eclipse, but we want to remember that this is a lunar eclipse. So in a lunar eclipse, what we have is the Earth getting in between the sun and the moon. Now, the sun represents your identity. That's how you see yourself. And the moon is your emotions and what you need. And so the Earth is in the way. And so that can be that there is some obstacle in the way, some actual person in the way, or some institution in the way. But it also can be that just life is in the way, that you want to express yourself, you want to express your feelings and get what you need and be who you are, but just circumstances in life need to be dealt with first. Now, normally with Taurus energy, it doesn't lash out when something is in the way because Taurus tends to be pretty even-keeled and very slow to anger. But now we have Uranus with it, so it's much more like a little powder keg. And so we can go from this feeling that everything's going to work out and we're very calm to feeling a very heightened anger very suddenly. And so recognize that that can happen and then tell yourself that that's okay, that you're experiencing that, and that will help bring that anger back down to a normal level. So how do you know if you're being directly hit by this eclipse? Well, the first thing to do is to look at the degrees in your chart. This eclipse is at 16 degrees. And so when you look at your chart, you'll see all of the list of the planets and the degrees. Now, I give a 5-degree orb on eclipses, and so that means that any planet that you have between 11 degrees and 21 degrees is being hit by this eclipse. Now, if you have been studying astrology for a while and you understand aspects, you'll be able to determine what aspect that eclipse is making to your chart, but even if you don't know that, you can still tell whether your chart is being hit. Now, once you know that a planet's being hit, then you can look at the actual wheel of your chart, find that planet, and now you know the area of life, that house that it's being hit. And so that's very important information. So, like the first house is about you and your presentation into the world. The second house is about your money. Third house about communication, and so forth. So if you go on my website, you're going to find a PDF on all of the houses and what they mean. So I encourage you to go out to my website and download that PDF. Now, of course, the sun in your chart is of particular importance. And so we always want to know if the sun is being hit by the eclipse. And so if you don't know the degrees and all that, that's okay. We do know, again, because where this eclipse is falling and giving it that 5-degree orb, if you were born between the 3rd of the month and the 13th of the month of any month of the year, you're being hit by this eclipse. Now, energy for an eclipse unfolds over 6 months, but it's oftentimes the case that 2 weeks before the eclipse, you're going to feel the energy and know what is going to change. And then it's very important that you lean in, that you make as many changes as you possibly can, because that helps use up the energy. So if this looks like there's going to be a job change, then go do your resume and start putting that out there. If this looks like something is going to change about your home, you might want to start decluttering or moving furniture around, or even looking for a new place. If this is about changes in your relationship, then you may want to settle down and do some counseling together or talking things out. Or if a relationship is truly over, you might want to take some steps to move out of that relationship. So by leaning in, the universe then will add to the energy and help you out. But if you resist the energy, then the change can be quite intense. So we're going to go sign by sign in a moment. I just wanted to say we're doing tropical Western astrology. If you know your ascending sign, your rising sign, listen to that. That's going to give you the most practical information, and it's going to tell you basically what area of life you're getting affected in. If you don't know your rising sign, you can send me your birth information, and I'll send you a PDF of your chart. There's a link in the description. And if you don't know your rising sign, or you don't know what time you were born, which is crucial for finding a rising sign, then listen to your sun sign, because that's going to give you very valuable information. Okay, let's go sign by sign. Okay, Aries, you guys are doing this eclipse conjunct Uranus, that planet that turns everything upside down, in your house of money. That might mean that there's a change in a revenue source, or that outgo is now different, or that you're needing to pay much more attention to your money in general. Now, when we look at outgo, the reason, of course, could be inflation, and that inflation is really starting to affect your bottom line. But it is also possible that a revenue source you had is now either drying up or disappearing for some reason, or perhaps it is just that in a change of jobs, you have a gap in the money that you're making. So this is also a time, though, if you have not paid a lot of attention to your money in the past, to really give it a lot of your attention now, because the Uranus says do something different. If you have been paying attention to your money, maybe you are looking at then moving money to a different system, or perhaps you are now saying, okay, the amount of money I'm making is not going to be enough, so needing to look at different revenue sources. Now, remember, with an eclipse, the changes that you're going through now is all designed to get you to a better place in 6 months. And so the pain that you're going through, the struggle that you're going through, can lead to something better. And you're Aries, so you're very proactive, and that means that you are going to see something, action you need to take, and go and do it. So if you're thinking about making a very large purchase at this time, you may want to think twice about it, or at least have some sort of guarantees, because of that shifting Uranus energy. So if you're making a big outgo for some purpose, like buying a boat or something, you might want to, structure the deal, and so that if you change your mind in a month or two, that you could get your money back. One of the other things that can affect your money is if you are really have a scarcity mindset. And so I know that it can be really difficult to be in a frugal mindset and not in a scarcity mindset. But if you make frugality kind of a game, that you're just having fun with it, as you are amassing more money, you can get an abundance mindset without having to spend a lot. But watch out for that scarcity mindset, where you have this idea that you're going to have less and less, and everybody else has more and more, and because then that gets mirrored by the universe. And so that becomes your experience. So as you put money away for yourself in savings or investments, focus on that and see those amounts growing, and also see that, the things that you have and the abundance that you have in your life, by what you have in the pantry and, the clothes in your closet and all that, see that as an abundance. And then that gets mirrored by the universe, and you get more abundance. When it comes to relationships, specifically new love, Mars is not making an aspect with the sun. And also, there's nothing in that house. There's nothing in your house of relationships. It's just not the focus at this time. Now, that said, you do have a lot of planets in your house of intimacy. And so if you do meet someone, this could be a one-night stand, or just a very, lustful relationship, something that is kind of a flash in the pan. And so recognize that to make it a long-term relationship is probably not something that's going to happen over this next couple of weeks, that you would want to start that relationship much more slowly, and maybe even start it after this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making an inconjunct to Mars. This means that there is some points of contention between the two of you where you need to make some adjustments. And this can be something that's fairly everyday, just some things because of stress in the world, that you're feeling that you might be stressed with your partner, or vice versa, that they are feeling a little bit too stressed in general and then taking it out on you. But the best use of this energy is to come together to adjust to the changing world. And you can do that really readily because being Aries, you are very proactive, as I said before. And so you are able to pivot more easily. And if your partner's not Aries, then you could help them do this too. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Venus, which is in a money house, and it is part of this whole configuration with this lunar eclipse. So this is that money is really the focus for you. And so as you look out in the world, you will see that there are many opportunities for you to gain money at this time. And that can be through some small one-time jobs that you're doing or selling items, but also longer-term money that can build into something really substantial. So this is a time where you want to look at not what you're comfortable doing, because that is one aspect of Venus, but what you would like to do and take on the challenge of making that happen in your life. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from your business, Venus is making a wonderful sextile to Pluto. So you have a great opportunity to make more money than usual over this 2-week period. You have so many planets going on in this house. There is a lot of activity. So you definitely want to allocate enough time to work on this. Also, when you're starting out working on any sort of project, you kind of want to sit with it for a moment. And I know that's hard with Aries because you want to jump in and take some action and make stuff, go. But it's necessary at this time for you to meditate a little bit on what you want the outcome to be. And then the actions you need to take will be revealed. Now, when it comes to money derived from your career, so like a paycheck, Venus is making an opposition to Uranus. So there is the possibility of making more money in your job, but you are going to go head to head with objections from your boss. It's almost like you're having to convince them. And I don't think it's so much convincing your boss as giving them the ammunition to convince their boss. So I think that as it goes up the food chain, it is not as easy. So you're giving help to your boss by saying, these are the reasons why you deserve the raise. But I think with that opposition, a raise is possible. So it's also possible that there will be some strings attached because an opposition is not the easiest of energies. So it may be that you suggest that it's time for a raise, and then they suggest that you take on some bigger projects. So you need to weigh that in your calculations. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that are that roll of the dice type of investment, as well as the things you do on spec for the big payday later, the sun is making a conjunction to Venus. So you have some very good energy here for launching a big project or getting something going. Now, of course, as I've said in the past, do not do this exactly on the eclipse. The day of the eclipse is a day of no energy, or when energy is blocked. But over this 2-week period, especially after the eclipse, you may want to consider that it's time to either do a launch or a soft launch to get things going. Okay, Taurus, so this is your eclipse, and that means that the most significant changes can happen in your life. And it's your eclipse time about every 9 years. So I did give you dates at the beginning of this in the introduction so you can go through what happened in previous times. But what's most important is because change is coming in your life and you're Taurus and not really liking a lot of change, it's necessary for you to start leaning into the change so that the energy of the universe can pick you up and carry you rather than being hit by the eclipse energy. And so that might mean if it looks like perhaps your home situation is unstable, maybe you taking control of that by moving furniture around, having somebody move in or move out, shifting your mortgage to a different type of mortgage, or doing things that create change, like renovating the house or things like that, where you're creating a change and that can use up the energy so you don't have to maybe move or do some aspect of change you don't want to. It's the same with your job. If you're feeling that your job is unstable, then it's time to do the resume, time to look around, time to talk to your supervisor about alternatives and to get more information instead of focusing on trying to get things to not change. Look at what you're comfortable with changing and make those changes now so that you use up this energy. So of the major things that can happen besides moving and job, there is, of course, a change in your relationship. And so this is the area where you probably have the least amount of control because somebody else is involved. But there is still a lot you can do, and that is to maybe go into counseling or to sit down and talk to each other or to pull in a third party in some way, maybe a family member or a spiritual guide to help you out through the bumps of a relationship. But it also may be that you need to look at a relationship that has broken apart and maybe you still haven't fully let go yet. And it's time to cut those cords so that you both can move on. So ultimately, this eclipse is about bringing some sort of change into your life. And so look for what you can change, look for what you're comfortable changing. And hopefully you're not saying nothing, because if you can change, then again, the universe sees movement, and then the universe can pick you up and carry you to your destination versus having the universe come in and course correct you, which can feel very disruptive. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is making a conjunction with Mercury. So you have a real opportunity to find somebody new for a relationship. And talk about a disruption in your life. That is a wonderful change to have happen. And so you want to actively pursue that now. That means, putting your profile up, connecting with people, allowing your friends and family to fix you up. And going out on that first date. And while you may not want to go out on the day of the lunar eclipse, it would be beneficial to meet this person over this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, you have great energy. Venus is making a sextile to Pluto, and so you're getting along well. You're finding things to work on together. When you are apart, you come together nicely, but you are not like stressing about each other. So I see really positive energy where you can be supportive of each other and feel very comfortable in your relationship. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Mercury, which is very much involved in this lunar eclipse. It is conjunct the sun. It is opposing that Uranus and moon. And so this really is asking you to look at different ways of doing your money, specifically around how you interact with other people. So that might mean that you need to collaborate with someone or find a mentor. You may need to just be promoting your services, or your products to new people, or bringing more people in to help you. And so all of this is about going from your workroom or your office into the world. And that might be the big change that's happening. But we see lots of positive energy for you making money and having great money ideas and great collaborations, especially these can form over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from your business, Mercury is making a sesquiquadrate to Jupiter. That is a challenging aspect. That is that you can get the profits, but you have to thread the needle just correctly. Otherwise, it's a little bit of wasted energy. And so you may want to just say, I'm just going to work on, forming good business partnerships or a new relationship with your broker or, connecting outward that way rather than trying to get all of the timing right. So that said, there is still a chance that you could have a windfall during this time. It is just the odds are, they're small. Now, when it comes to money derived from your career, it's an entirely different story because Mercury is making a lovely trine to Neptune. And so that does indicate that your boss could be quite amenable to a discussion about a raise, that your company is looking at you and saying you are valuable, you are showing your worth, or that your presentation about what you've been working on impresses everyone. And so you have a great chance of getting either a better job a better position at your current job, or getting more money in general. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and of course, this is the type of exotic investments that is really gambling, where you are just, throwing some money at something and hoping it comes out because it's just not traditional or standardized or anything like that. Or it's the type of investment where you are doing a lot on spec. There is a little bit here of kind of a dice roll because the Mercury is so involved in this eclipse energy. And so because Uranus is there, this can mean that what looked like it was not going to pay off pays off really well, or vice versa. So what we see is a change of fortune here. And so I want you to be super, super careful. And that is, especially if you're doing that exotic type of investment, you could see it up one day and way down the next day, or with some of the leveraged commodities or selling short for like, is super risky because there's so much downside that the investment can have, and things tend to fall much more quickly than they rise. And so all of that can cause you to go from, having some profits to really not being really being in the red within moments. So do be extra, extra careful with your risky investments. If it is something where you are going to present something that you've been working on for a long time, I would wait till after this 2-week period, because again, this is where you may be expecting a positive result and they give you an unexpected thumbs down. So it's just too volatile an energy right now to risk something that you've been working on for a long time. Okay, Gemini, you guys are doing this eclipse in your 12th house. That is about intuition and your connection with the universe. So spirituality in general, as well as where you run to when you're tired and when you're scared. So it is your place of escapes. It's also about your subconscious and learning about yourself and how you react to things when you're not planning it or thinking about it. And so what this eclipse is doing is it's bringing big change in this area. And one of the areas that's very important is about boundaries. And that can be your boundaries to others, where someone might be crossing your boundaries and taking advantage, or it is your boundaries where you are connecting psychically. And so sometimes you are dissolving those boundaries so that you are more intuitive, and sometimes you need to put up boundaries so that your energy is not infected by other people, their thoughts, their ideas. So, and it's really interesting because, Gemini is about ideas. And so when you have a clear idea of who you are and what you are doing, it's very difficult for then somebody else to shift that just through their thoughts. But if you are very open and, kind of wondering, what should I be doing? Then you can be tossed around by, somebody says you do this and another person says you do the opposite. And so you can be, moving from direction to direction. Another thing that's interesting is that this can be you on your timeline. And so the boundary is that your timeline gets screwed up, so you are looking always at the past and things that happened to you before rather than looking forward into the future. And you have to turn things around. So this is where you get caught up in this idea that something happened in the past and now you're stuck. Instead of letting go of the past and saying that's the past and now something new can happen, as this eclipse says that something for sure new will happen. And so with changes that are going on, you can recognize that 6 months from now, you'll be looking back at this time and say, oh, I'm so happy the changes happen. But if you're clinging to the past, it can feel like it's very disruptive in your life because you're holding on to like a pillar in a storm rather than just going and taking shelter. And so instead of hanging on to the past, it is time to move towards a better future. And so that's what this eclipse is helping you do. Now, it's possible that you will be connecting more deeply spiritually during this time, but you also might be looking into things like hypnosis or tapping or even the tarot to let you get a more insight into what's going on underneath the surface with your conscious and unconscious mind. Check out my video course on reading the tarot. The link is in the description. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is making a conjunction to Mercury, so that's really good news. It's interesting because it's all happening in your 6th house, and that's a house of co-workers or people that you hang out with on a regular basis. So it's interesting. So it might be new love that is somebody that you already know, but you never saw them as a potential love relationship. But this also says that as you go into situations where you're seeing people on a regular basis, you know, going to the same coffee shop, or you go to the post office on a regular basis and you see the person who's working there, that's the kind of thing where love can happen, is where you are in a comfortable setting and it's something where you're doing everyday things, and that's where you could meet this person. Now, when it comes to existing relationships, Mercury is making a sesquiquadrate with Jupiter. That's a little bit of a challenging aspect, and it says that for the most part, things are going along pretty well, but every once in a while, you are stumbling over this next 2 weeks into something that's kind of serious. And so that is where maybe the two of you need to work out something, but it's very specific and it's just kind of popping up at this time. Now, it's possible that you or your partner are quite stressed because of the changes that are going on because of the eclipse. And so, you know, one of you might be feeling a little, you know, vulnerable. So that's a possibility. But with a sesquiquadrate, which is the energy combining a square with a semi-square, action is what's needed. And so going to this person and saying, hey, I'm ready to talk, I'm ready to listen, that's what's really going to help. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the moon that is, of course, in this lunar eclipse, which does mean that there are some inspiring ideas that can come to you that are a little bit out of the box. And so you might think that they are out of your comfort zone, possibly so far out that you don't yet see how you're going to get from point A to point B. But it's a good idea to journal these ideas or to make a note of them in some way so that you can revisit them over time and also see what opportunities the universe brings in conjunction with these ideas. Now, this is also about asking yourself new questions and letting go again of the past. And so this is where you might say, oh, this has never worked in the past, or I've always struggled with this. Any of that sort of language is you holding on to the past. And so it is time to shift that language so that you can welcome in money. And that would be, I may not have made money in the past, but this is a new day. And so by saying that and suggesting that, you're opening yourself up to the abundance of the universe. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from your business, the moon is making a square to Saturn, which means that you take action and you make more money. So it is likely you're going to be making more money over the next 2 weeks. That bodes very well. That might mean that your investments are rising, that more customers are coming in. That square to Saturn says that some sort of paperwork or agreement could be happening, and that might be moving things forward as well. So look to complete something such as an application or some sort of contract, and that will get things rolling. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, there's a little bit of a different story here because the moon's not making an aspect with Mars. Mars is, of course, in Gemini, and it's going to be there till next March. And so it does show that, you know, you have the ability to go in and say, hey, I want to raise, but your company may say, oh, you have to wait. We're so close to the end of the year. Just wait till next year. Or they may put you off in some way. And so this is not necessarily the time to put yourself out there in this way. Instead, maybe look for alternative sources of income since you have such a good money chart for ideas and for planting new seeds. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that are like gambling and really taking a risk with your money, as well as where you're risking your time and energy by doing something on spec, Venus is making an opposition to the moon, and it's all part of this eclipse energy. So something major is changing when it comes to your finances in this area. And that might mean you are finishing your novel and you're ready to launch, or that the gambling that you're doing is starting to pay off. Now, of course, with gambling, you can't count on it. The thing of risky investments that you can count on is yourself and how you can improve what you're doing over practice, with practice and time. So I just wanted to say that if you are thinking to launch like a screenplay or novel or something like that, you don't want to do it exactly on the day of the eclipse. We talk about this, eclipse days are blocked energy, so you want to definitely wait till after the day of the eclipse before you launch. Okay, Cancer, you guys are doing this eclipse in your area of friendships, community, also technology in the future. And so it's possible that a friendship is changing. Perhaps this person is moving a long distance away, or, you've gotten involved in a relationship, or they have, and now you're not spending as much time together. There is also some energy here about changes within your community, and these could be things due to weather events that have happened, or that you maybe have moved and you're just now getting settled and now you're getting into the community, or maybe you're just coming back into the community after, COVID and all of that, and not being, going to meetings or connecting with people. So we do see changes in that way. Because this is conjunction to Uranus, do be careful with your electronics. That can be a sudden change. So make sure that your information's backed up to the cloud, and keep your electronics away from water if at all possible. So just keeping an eye on that. Mostly, I used to tell people always back up before an eclipse, but now things are generally automatically backed up to the cloud. We just have to know where that cloud is. And then finally, this is about the future. And so you may have had goals and dreams about where you wanted to be, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and that could be shifting. You might have now different ideas of what you want to do, what you want the universe to bring you. And so looking at, maybe you were thinking of retiring to a place that now gets a lot of hurricanes. And so you say, you know what, I'm not going to retire there. I'm going to choose a different place. Or perhaps you were thinking of, working on a particular project that now is not interesting to you. So it is time to look at what you're planning for the future and decide whether you still want to do that. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though the moon's not making an aspect to Pluto, that house is full. That house has Mercury, Sun, Venus, and the South Node. So what I would say is it's the new love area, but it may be somebody you already know. And perhaps you knew them in a different way. Maybe you worked with them in the past. Maybe they were just a friend. Maybe they used to go out with your sister, So there's something that is familiar about this person, and now there is an opportunity for a love relationship. So I would say the energy is quite good, but there is a surprising little twist to this story. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's making a square to Saturn. So in general, we do like an aspect because that means the two of you are coming together to help each other or to work something out. But a square to Saturn is rather challenging. And so it says it's time to work something out that maybe got pushed under the rug too many times. So, you might have some things that you really want to say to your partner, and this is the time where you're probably going to say them. And so you want to make sure that they're in a space where they're ready to listen. Maybe you're doing this over dinner or, pulling them aside so you can privately discuss this. But it does look like you are really working something out, and that can help the relationship get much stronger. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the sun, which is part of this eclipse and is conjunct both Mercury and Venus. So you have an abundance of ideas. There is so many different ways that you can make money, and the universe is just giving you idea after idea. It's possible that you're finding, videos on YouTube, mentors to help you out, people coming to you saying, I've already tried this, it's really working, do you want to join me? So there's tons of different ideas. Right now, there's so many, you might just want to write them down so that you can decide later after more investigation whether it's a direction you want to go. But right now you have not only multiple ideas, but also multiple sources for additional money in your life. Now, when it comes to traditional investments and money from your business, the sun is making an exact opposition to Uranus, which means that you can come together with someone and do some sort of agreement to make a lot more money. So that might mean that you are getting a new broker and working things out that way, or you and your business partner are working together, or maybe you get a new customer, but as you reach out to someone, you can connect and make more money. So I see a very strong possibility of you making more money over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, which would be like a paycheck, the story's the same. You show strong ability to make more money over the next 2 weeks because the sun's making a conjunction to Venus. And that means if you ask for a raise, pretty much, they're going to give it to you because they see that you're quite beneficial to the company and they need you. If you are looking for a new job, you can certainly negotiate for a better salary at this time. You may also find that you get more hours or you get some sort of extra commission. So getting more money in your job is very likely. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and we talk about this all the time on this channel, that is divided into this idea of rolling the dice and seeing what happens in something that's exotic or highly leveraged. Those can be quite risky. Or taking the risk on yourself and doing something on the side on spec and then presenting it to the world to see if you can get money for it, like making a movie and then putting it out there. So right now, the sun's not making an aspect to Pluto. However, that house is extremely activated, and so there could be some possibilities here. I think that the actual profits come outside this 2-week period, and so if you're thinking about launching something big, you might want to just do some like market research rather than an actual launch. Or you want to just go over things again, one more time to make sure that you have everything in place before you do launch. Also, don't do these big activities on the day of the eclipse. That's a day of blocked energy. So because of, in a lunar eclipse, of course, the Earth is in between the sun and moon. And so that is mundane activities. Everyday activities can be the block. So you're getting ready to launch something and your kid needs a ride, or the dog has thrown up on the carpet. It's those sort of things can really interrupt the day. And so you don't want to try to do something big on the eclipse. But you could do something bigger later, but I would do it outside this 2-week period because you're not doing the aspect. Okay, Leo, you guys are doing this lunar eclipse with Uranus up in your house of career, reputation, social status, and social standing. So when you do an eclipse in this area of your chart, you really do want to step back and take a look at the basic trajectory of where your career is going, and starting with what the industry is doing, and then what your particular company is doing, and then how you're doing within the company. You can also look at whether this is the job that you want, because oftentimes the eclipse can close a door and then open a new door. And that can be that you see perhaps your job ending, or maybe you want it to end, and so you can move into something else. Now, it's also possible that there are external pressures here kind of trying to help you move along, whereas you haven't necessarily wanted to move forward on something else because it felt, unstable, or, that you just felt like you were not ready. But now the eclipse is here, and so that can be that the company that you're in is making very restrictive changes, or blocking your moving up in the company, or not giving out raises, or there's something else that is putting pressure on you, trying to get you to move in a different direction. Now, this is also about reputation, and so that is, what you're doing out in the world. And so with social media, that can be, if you are wanting to increase your following, or maybe just to get online and start doing that, or maybe to pull back and not be online so much so you can concentrate on other things. And then there's also social standing or social status. And that is how you are recognized by your peers. And so this can be going from single to in a relationship, or going from someone who is employed to unemployed, or going to from someone who lives in a particular country to somebody who is an expat. So this can be any of these changes where the world sees you differently. So these are the types of things that you might be looking at in your life, and you're going to know. This is not going to be a complete surprise because you're a very spiritual person. That's why you're listening to this information. And so you already have an inkling of what's going to happen. And so you need to then make choices that are beneficial to you instead of trying to hold on to something from the past. Now, when it comes to relationships, specifically new love, the sun is making a sesquiquadrant to Jupiter, and that is a challenging aspect. It does mean that if you're out there, you can, like roll the dice and hit the lottery, but you really have to, have everything work out right. So sometimes when you're doing an aspect like this, if you're already a little bit nervous about, dating someone new, etc., then you may want to just wait until this aspect lines up better. But the other way that you can use this energy is to stack the deck in your favor, and that would be to go to friends and family and say, who should I be with and what can I do differently, and to really get some advice and incorporate that advice so in how you are looking for love, and then you can find somebody. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the sun's making an opposition to Uranus. And so for the most part, you can come together with your partner and make some sort of agreement, come together on a project, come together to, be a united front about something. But there is a great possibility that you're on opposite sides of some issue, and that you're both needing to come together to find a way that you can work this out. So you will have an opportunity over this 2-week period to do this very thing, because it's quite possible that your partner is as stressed as you are because of this eclipse. And so coming together and saying, all right, I understand that you're upset or stressed, and I'm upset and stressed too, and so let's work together. I think there's a great opportunity for that to make this relationship stronger, because the best use of this energy is the two of you being a united front and then dealing with external things. Now, when it comes to your money, you are pulling money from that Mercury, which is conjunct the sun and an integral part of this whole eclipse pattern. And so this is very much about a change of thinking, because this Mercury is making an opposition to Uranus, and Uranus says, do something different. And an opposition almost says, what's the opposite of what you could be thinking? And so this is where you want to do some creative questions for yourself, like, what would this look like if this was easier? Or what would my life be like if this was a priority? Or how can I shift this energy to what I want it to be? And so instead of asking yourself those types of questions where there's not really a good answer, I don't know if you know what I mean. If you ask yourself a question like, why does this always happen to me? There's not really a good answer to it, because the question itself isn't actually accurate, because it doesn't always happen to you. And so then the universe pushes back and doesn't give you a very clear answer. But if you say to the universe, what's a better way of doing this? The universe is going to jump in and give you examples through people you meet and information you watch online and stuff that pops into your head. You're going to get all of these different answers. So look at what you're asking, and that's your source of money. Now, when it comes to money derived from a business or traditional investments, Mercury is making a trine to Neptune, and Neptune is in a money house. So you are likely to be making more money over the next 2 weeks. And that is that you can find ways to get things easily happening. That is, you find a stock that's at a great price and you've done all the research already, or in your business, customers are just coming in. So we have really good energy for you for the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, of course, you're doing that Mercury opposed Uranus that we were just talking about. And so when it comes to your job, things have to be considered in a different way. And that is, there are some changes going on, and either that is an external change. So they're saying, you need to move into this position, or you need to do this different job, or it's necessary for you to rethink what you're doing if you're not happy there, if you're needing to move into something else. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and that is both those very highly exotic, highly leveraged investments where you're really just gambling. Also, though, those types of investments where you do a lot on spec, like making a movie and then seeing if you can get the movie distributed. So you're doing Mercury sesquiquadrate Jupiter. So this is trying to thread that needle by almost throwing the thread at the needle. So it's not easy to do, but when it works, it's amazing. But what's more important is, with the sesquiquadrate, you may feel very compelled to be working on this right now, but that doesn't mean that you need to pull the trigger. So consider doing all of the rest of the stuff, the research, all of the due diligence before you jump into this, because this energy could line up better next time. Okay, Virgo, you guys are doing this lunar eclipse in your house of legal matters, education, belief systems, and long-distance travel. And so starting with legal matters, if you're in a legal matter, it is quite possible that there's going to be some turn of events. And so you want to be in communication with your lawyer. This could turn things in your favor, or it can turn things the opposite way. But there is going to be a turn or a change. And this could become because of new information or a missed deadline or something that maybe is a little bit under your control. So it's important to pay attention to this. Now, if this is about your education, maybe you are thinking and wondering whether you should stay in school, or maybe wanting to get into school. And so you are looking at, communicating with others, figuring out whether this feels like a good path for you. Maybe looking at accelerated programs instead of traditional school. That would be a very different way of looking at this. Or maybe looking at taking the money that you were going to put into school and put it into a self-study program where you are deciding what curriculum that you're going to do. And that would be something good for, say, video editing, because you can do all of that yourself as long as you just stay on track. So this is shifts that way. And I think the bigger thing here is a shift of belief system. And that is that if you have a personal philosophy, a motto that you live by, or just what you always say, like if you always say, like, the world's always against me or something like that, then that's a thing that you should be looking at to change at this time, because the universe could be wanting to send you lots of opportunities, but it's blocked by your belief system. Those are called limiting beliefs. So examining those beliefs and shifting those is very good for this eclipse energy. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury's making a square to Saturn, so there is some really intense energy right now. You have a very strong house of communication, and so I really think that this is the time to take whoever it is that you are communicating with and move it into the real world. That would be, make the date instead of going back and forth. This is also that, maybe if you're thinking about doing a matchmaker now, maybe it's time, not on the day of the eclipse, but to engage this person, in the next couple of weeks. And also to let friends and family fix you up, because you really could meet someone quite amazing at this time. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, things look very harmonious because Mercury is making a lovely trine to Neptune. Neptune is in your house of relationships. So what you have going is a lot more harmony than usual. In fact, it's almost at a psychic level, like you're picking up each other's thoughts, finishing each other's sentences. So this energy looks really great for this 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the Venus that is part of this whole eclipse configuration. And so that Venus making a conjunction to the sun and an opposition to that Uranus says it's time to do things differently. Now, this is in your house of communication, so you might want to start with first how you're thinking about things and shift the questions that you're asking yourself about your situation. And so a question that you might have had, which might be, why can't I make money, might shift to how can I make $100 today? And with that meatier question, then the universe can bring you some answers through, things that pop in your head, things that you're reading online, things that you listen to online, something people say on the subway. You can get more information by asking really questions that say, this is the problem, what can I do to solve it? So right now you're showing lots of new ideas. Write these down. You may not have time to work on all of them, certainly, or any of them over the next 2 weeks. So write them down and save these. These could be very valuable. Now, when it comes to traditional investments and money from your business, Venus is making an inconjunct to Mars. So you're showing more money if you're willing to do the hard, annoying stuff. And so that might be working on the back office, maybe dealing with some website issues or some accounting issues. Maybe looking at some supply chain stuff that you have to straighten out. So this is very much about the stuff that you've been putting off, those little tasks that you keep moving to the next to-do list. Work on those. That's what's going to bring you more money over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so like a paycheck, the moon is making an opposition to Venus. So there is an opportunity here. You have to come together. So like you're on opposite sides of the table. You have to find a way that you can get that win-win. And so you might have to concede something, they have to concede something. So it's not the easiest of aspects, but it is an aspect. So there is a great possibility for you to make more money over the next 2 weeks, but you will have to make some sort of concession to get that raise. Now, when it comes to risky investments, which we divide into two different categories, very different categories, and one is that roll the dice, taking a risk, some sort of altcoin that really doesn't have any sort of meat behind it, versus something that you are doing a lot of research or a lot of work on spec, like you are illustrating a comic book or something like that. It takes many months to finish, and then you're presenting it to the world. Right now, you're doing Venus square Saturn, and that means you may feel very compelled to move forward on whatever project it is, and you do have a really good energy here for getting some success happening. Venus is the money part of that. Saturn is the hard work, and these two are coming together. And so you can work on that to climb the mountain that is this project. So this is not a, like throw some money on the table and woo, you just forget about it and win something. This is, even if you were going to Las Vegas, you would be studying the books, practicing your game, figuring out the different strategies of the game, and then you have success. Okay, Libra, you guys are doing this lunar eclipse in your house of resources. This would include credit, debt, investments, passive income sources, as well as power and the truth about things. And so let's start there. So this is where it's necessary for you to take off the rose-colored glasses and to look at something in a very truthful way. And in some way, it's almost like the universe is trying to knock those glasses off of you so that you will see something as it really is. And I do get it, because sometimes Libra says, let me see this in the best light. And sometimes that is very useful for helping others be optimistic, for instilling hope, etc. But it's also necessary sometimes to see that unvarnished truth of what a situation is, because then you can get the tools and resources you need to work on it. Now, this is also about, investments and debt and all of that. And so that's where you might need to be looking at hard numbers, like what are you paying in fees for your investments? Is that Is that a good idea? Are you underinsured? Do you need to work out something there? Do you need to find a way to pay lower interest rates as interest rates are rising? Do you need to consolidate debt? Do you need to find a way to put more on the debt so that you can get that down, even if that means that you are doing less in investments? So looking at all of those things and shifting the power dynamic. So is it very much, this can be about you feeling that someone else has the power, and they may have some of the power, but you can take some of your power back and say, you know, that you do have control over parts of the situation, or maybe the entire situation. And as you take it back, then you can feel like you can take the action you want to take. Now, when it comes to love relationships, Venus is making an opposition to Uranus. So the first thing can be that the person who is on the other side of the table is very different than you were expecting. They look different than their picture, or you've never dated a person like this before, but there could be real sparks. So that can be very interesting. It's also possible that you're trying to get together with someone, but your schedules are just not meshing, and you'll have to compromise a little bit. They'll have to compromise a little bit just to get together. The other thing is that with this Venus-Uranus, the one kind of downside is that you can fall for somebody who's not available, and that is wanting something you cannot have. So be a little bit careful of that, especially if you have a history of that. It's really important for you to say to yourself, you know, if this person's truly not available, it's, you know, you say to yourself, okay, I am attracted to this person, I acknowledge that, but I am going to move on because they are not available. So you have to really look at that honestly, instead of saying, oh, this is the one and I'm just going to wait for them, because it's a big world. There are many, many, many people out in the world, and many of them are looking for a relationship. So this is a time to shift your thinking when it comes to love. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making an inconjunct to Mars. And so this means sitting down with your partner and compromising in some way. They have to compromise, you have to compromise. And if you're the one who always does the compromising, I understand how you say, I want them to compromise, but this is your inconjunct. So it really starts with you. You're going to have to do something a little bit different. Otherwise, it's just going to continue to be an irritating situation. And so as you shift, then the irritation goes away. Now, when it comes to your money, you're, of course, pulling money from Pluto in your house of home and family. So family is still a resource, and that might mean, you know, pooling money together with family members, or thinking of how your uncle ran a business and, you know, maybe getting advice from them, or even looking at your ancestors and saying, oh yeah, my ancestors had a shipping company. And so therefore you can pull some of that energy. But you're also pulling money from that Mars, which is now at the very top of your chart. And so this means it's more noticeable. The things that you're doing, you want to either start asking people, well, what do you think about this? And doing some market research, or you need to be putting your name out there, and that is then going to bring money to you. And that might be putting up your website, getting your LinkedIn profile done, and, you know, basically saying, hello world, here I am. Now, when it comes to money from traditional investments or money from your business, well, first of all, the houses are chock full. So this is all, you know, like not all the planets are there, but a lot of the planets, half of the planets are there. Yes, half of the planets are there. That's a lot. So plus Venus is making a sextile to Pluto. So you have enormous opportunities to move something forward, to launch something. Don't launch it on the day of the eclipse, but launch it during this 2-week process, because this is really good energy. If it's looking at your investments, there is a way to shift your portfolio towards something that's very positive. So this is great energy. You want to put in the work right now. It's a sextile. It's not automatic. And so, but there's some sort of treasure at the end of this hard work. And so now, when it comes to money derived from your career, it's a very different story, because the sun is not making an aspect to Pluto, nor is it making an aspect to Mars. And you are, though, doing a lot of energy in your money houses. So I would say it's possible probably to get a more flexible schedule, to get some perks, like get some free movie tickets, but I'm not seeing a raise. I'm not seeing, like extra commission. So I think this is more about, things are going along okay, but it's not really time to ask for a raise. But if you keep your eyes open, you will get some extra perks. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and we divide these into two categories, and one is that roll the dice type of gambling, a stock that's a penny stock, or buying commodities or selling short, or those things that you put a lot of time and effort into, so you're doing it on spec, and then you are releasing it into the world and hoping to make money. When we look at this, so Pluto is not making an aspect to Uranus, but the co-rulers, Mars and Saturn, are making, I had to check, a trine. And so that does mean that something can happen. You've got really strong planets in money houses, and Saturn is in a money house. So I'm liking what I'm seeing. Of course, because they're the co-rulers, you do want to be a little bit careful. I like when it's the true rulers. But the co-ruler energy, I think, still works, but just take some precautions. Certainly take precautions if this is the gambling type. Don't invest more than you can afford to lose. If you're getting ready to launch something that's big and important, first of all, don't launch it on the day of the eclipse, but you may want to launch on one of these days over the next 2 weeks, because you do have an audience with that Mars elevated. You do have potential for money because there's planets in money houses, and you can always relaunch this at some point later when this energy lines up again. Okay, Scorpio, you guys are doing this lunar eclipse in your house of relationships, and this is part of your eclipse series. So we know that you've been doing this energy. You'll do it a total for a year and a half, and so you're almost through this whole energy because it's been going on for a year. And so this is your life continually going through changes, and now the focus is on your relationships. And relationships are really tough these days because it's very hard to get together like we used to. It is, when you are out in the world, everybody's on their phone. And so one of the things that you might want to do is to do a little spiritual work before you leave the house, especially if you're going to be in contact with people, like networking or looking for a relationship. And that is to visualize that you do want to have those conversations, that you want to meet people, that you want to connect, and you visualize that before you leave the house. And that can help that other person's spirit to say, oh, yes, I'm looking for somebody too. Because as much as this is difficult now, it is universally difficult. And so therefore, many more people want to have a relationship, but they're out of practice in networking, or they mostly stay home, or they get nervous when they're out. And so they're just looking at their phone. And so by sending that spiritual message, even if you forget and you get into the situation, you can send the spiritual message while you're standing right there, and then see who starts looking up, who starts a conversation with you, how powerful it is to draw people to you. So I think that is a really good thing to think about during this eclipse time. Now, of course, you may also want to consider doing some activities where people maybe can't use their phones so much, like going to a hiking group, or going to an actual group where people are going to sit together and talk, like one of those dinner lecture question answer groups that I've heard about. So looking at meetup groups and getting involved in the community, that can help you, not just going out with friends and being all, we're in our little clique, but to, boldly go out and say, okay, world, who can I meet? And so when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, of course, Neptune's making a sextile to Pluto, plus Jupiter is back in this house. So you have really excellent energy. You've got the eclipse going on in your house of relationships, and you have very strong romance house going on. So I love this energy for you. Your Venus is in Scorpio right now, your own sign. So, everything is lined up. And so, try to get past the procrastination, try to get past, whatever it is, all of the work obligations you have and all that, clear your schedule so that you can, go out and find somebody new, either through an online dating site or matchmaker or, some other method. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, you have very good energy because Venus is making a sextile to Pluto. So you have full houses. So there may be something going on in your life. There may be something going on in your partner's life, but you're able to come together and be, a team, be together, which is stronger. Now, this is just an opportunity because it's a sextile. So you may have to say to your partner, how can I help you? And that spurs them on to say, oh, this is how, and how can I help you? And that's where this collaboration really strengthens. So, but you do have good energy. So whatever's going on elsewhere in your life, I think that your relationship is kind of a little safe harbor for you. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Jupiter, which is now down in your house of creativity, also on taking risks, looking for adventure, looking for something exciting and fun to do. And it's going to be there for a little bit, reminding you that, to the things that you were thinking were fun, maybe earlier in the year, but you haven't done. Those are things that can actually make you money. So, whether that is like you like design, and so maybe you want to start an Etsy shop, or you like design, and so you're going to work on websites for people, or you like design, so you're going to do video editing. Like, I know there was a lot of design there. But looking at what you love to do, because in this kind of niched world, it is quite amazing how you can take a very specific hobby and turn it into a business. It may not be $1 billion business, but it can be enough to sustain you, to give you, a nice income where you can get a house and you can have food and lights and heat and happy life. And so thinking about now how you can take something you love to do and start it as a side business and let that grow. That's the type of energy that you're doing right now. And it is mostly right now just thinking about and envisioning what could be. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from your business, Mercury's making a sesquiquadrate to Jupiter, which means it's time to go do the hard stuff. And that's what brings you some money. And so this is not even just doing the irritating stuff. This is like, what is the bigger, more difficult thing? And that might be that you put yourself on camera, or that you go, say, I will give you guys a lecture, and that means you're standing up on stage and you're speaking, or that you're going to really delve into the accounting side of your business and you're going to, just lock the door and figure this out, or that you're going to look at back taxes and get those paid off. So this is where you're having to do something you don't necessarily want to do, but it can bring you great rewards. Okay, now when it comes to money derived from career, it's pretty much the same story. It's that Mercury sesquiquadrate Jupiter. So this is doing something that pulls you completely out of your comfort zone. This is you talking to the boss and saying why you need a raise, why they should give it to you immediately, why you're qualified for that better position, why this is the time for you to move forward in this career, or where you would look for something else. And so, if you've hesitated about this in the past, this is now where you identify the thing that you are scared to do, and you just go do that. Now, is there going to be easier aspects in the future? Absolutely. But sometimes when you do the hard things, then life comes out wonderfully. So, and that's the old Stoic saying, right? Do hard stuff, easy life. Do easy stuff, hard life. So I think I paraphrased, but now when it comes to risky investments, and these are both those highly leveraged, time sensitive, risky, like exotic investments, and also those things you do on spec that you spend a lot of time doing and then launching. Well, it's finally back. That Jupiter is conjunct Neptune. And so now is a time where you can get things launched, move things forward. This is the good energy. It's going to last for a little while, so you don't have to do everything right now. And certainly don't do it on the day of the eclipse. That's a day of no energy. But this is where things are lining up in your favor now. Finally, I've been promising you this for weeks, and here it is. This is the beginning of it. It's going to get better. This aspect's going to get tighter for a while, and so you have a few weeks to do this, or even a couple months. I think you have actually a couple of months to do this. So we'll talk about that more in detail next time. But right now, it's starting to line up, and so there can be success in this area. Okay, Sagittarius, you guys are doing this lunar eclipse with Uranus in your house of daily routines, which includes scheduling and finding patterns or habits, as well as work and your health and well-being. And so taking a look at this, what eclipses can do is bring that last straw that breaks the camel's back. That is this idea that one thing can go wrong and you just say, that's it. I'm not doing it this way anymore. And so that might mean that you miss an important appointment because you didn't have it scheduled, or that you have some other routine that wasn't quite set well, and so therefore an opportunity was missed. It's also possible that you are saying, that's it, I am not going to eat junk food anymore, I'm going to change my diet. This, like if you want to do a radical change, and I know sometimes, they say, oh, making a big shift in diet or exercise, it's never sustainable. But if you want it to be sustainable, one of the ways to do it is to do it on an eclipse, because that is such a powerful energy. So you couple a big change with a powerful energy, and it's much more sustainable. So, and this is also about work and coworkers, and so there may be some changes in the office, or this might be that you're moving to a new office, or that you've just started a new job, and so you have a big learning curve. Now, when it comes to relationships, specifically new love, it's really interesting because Mars is making a square to Jupiter, which is excellent, but you've got a lot of planets in more hidden houses, and so it's possible that you are meeting somebody and you need to do this relationship a little bit in secret. Perhaps they're a coworker, or there's some other reason that you're not telling friends and family yet. It's also possible that this is some sort of long distance relationship, and so you're not actually meeting in person. And if that's the case, be very, very careful, because people can represent themselves online as something and not be that. And so you might want to ask friends or family, whether this sounds kosher, like if this sounds right, that, that this person, lives in this city, but doesn't really know any of the sites there, doesn't, like they live in Anaheim, but they don't know where Disneyland is, that sort of thing. That can kind of tell you that something's not really right. So looking at that, where was I? So Jupiter square Saturn, not Jupiter square Saturn, Mars square Jupiter would indicate some real opportunities with love relationships. Just be a little bit cautious, because there's some activity here in hidden houses. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is making a sesquiquadrate to Jupiter. This is one of those very challenging aspects, but it's not necessarily something that you feel compelled to work on. And so there could be some challenges with your partner, but it's also could be something where you can see there's a challenge, but you don't really have time to work on it right now. And so you just file it away to say, one day, this person and I have to sit down and talk about this. So it may also be something where you need to look at your own behaviors, put yourself in their shoes and see this from a different perspective, so that you can get some real insight into it. A sesquiquadrate could give you that energy, that you suddenly say, oh, now I know why they do this irritating thing. This, I think, could be really helpful. If you are in some sort of couples therapy, this sesquiquadrate could make a huge breakthrough for the two of you. So if you're actually working on the relationship, this could be a big win for your relationship. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the Saturn that is so huge in this eclipse energy, which says that ideas and opportunities are coming from all directions. This Saturn is making a square to Mercury, a square to the Sun, a square to Venus, a square to Uranus, a square to the Moon. it's even squaring the nodes. I mean, that's a lot. That's like half the chart. And so this is it. Right now, you have more potential to launch something, to get something going, to find someone who's going to give you an opportunity, to get an interview, to do anything that you've been working on for a while. Now's the time to really focus on it and get it done. You know, just let go of procrastination and move forward on this. Squares are very, very compelling, and eclipse energy is life-changing. So that combination says that you can do something over the next 2 weeks that is amazing. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from your business, you're making more than usual because Saturn's making a square to the moon. And that means that you are feeling like you want to work on your business and you are really moving forward on it. You know, Saturn is in your house of messaging, and the moon is in the 6th house of, you know, like, let's get this into a calendar. Let's do a regular newsletter. Let's build up the audience. So you're doing great things. I think that this can be a time where you really see a bump up in the money that you're making. Now, when it comes to money derived from your career, so like a paycheck, Saturn's making a square to Venus. And so again, there is this opportunity to make more money in your business. It is a square. So this is like sitting down with your boss. You initiate this and you say, okay, this is the work I've done. This is my successes. You know, we've talked about this before. It's time to move me forward. Or if you're looking for a new job, again, it's very, very strong for getting an interview and being able to negotiate a higher salary. So it is quite possible that within 2 weeks, you already have at least a promise that you're going to make more money or actual more money in your paycheck. Now, when it comes to risky investments, we divide these into 2 categories. One is that roll of the dice, the highly leveraged, you know, like commodities trading or short selling, those things that are really risky. And so don't invest in those unless you can afford to lose that money. Or it's the type of investment where you're investing in yourself by spending a lot of time and energy up front to do something and then launching. Right now, Saturn is making a trine to Mars, and that is really good energy. So when we combine all of this together, what we get is like everything seems to be coming together to pull you in an audience, to pull you in an opportunity. So you do really want to look at this. Sometimes trines are easy to skip because the energy seems like it's too easy. And so there's so much compulsion in some of these other areas, the financial areas for you, that you may say, I'm just going to work on my album later. But this is a time where you want to reach out to potential sponsors or to people to collaborate with because you could get something really going here. Okay, Capricorn, you guys are doing this lunar eclipse with Uranus in your house of pleasurable activities, also creativity, kids, this is where you're going to take risks. And we'll talk about risky investments in a moment. So this is where a shift needs to happen. And so let's start with pleasurable activities, because it's possible that you are doing none of those, that you are not having fun. And so this is a time where you're going to look at what was fun, what could be fun now, and seeing how you can get it into your schedule, even if it's just for short periods. When it comes to your kids, one of your kids may bring you some surprise news or may tell you of a big decision that they're making. It's possible that one of your kids is moving in or moving out, or that the support that you were giving them has to change in some way. And so this is where, and we say the support because of the Taurus energy. And so this is something that might be a hard discussion that you're having with them, but a necessary one. When it comes to your creativity, a new idea could cause you to do a 180-degree turn where suddenly you are doing your your creative project in a whole new way. So this can be some inspiration, like you called it a muse and now you know what to do about, the song or the artwork. And so this can be quite a creative breakthrough for you. So with eclipses, remember, there isn't a feeling that the energy is blocked. So you may feel quite a lot of frustration, but recognize that if you will lean into that and say, okay, what can I change? What can I look at in a different way? That's when you get your breakthrough. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, this actually lunar eclipse is right there. So this does say that if you look at what your attitudes are, what your beliefs are, or are you holding on to someone from the past, you really have an opportunity here. Plus, Venus is making a square to Saturn, and that again says that the people that are out in the world, they are looking for you. And that would give you different people to choose from. It would be wise to let go of something from the past, whether it is a person or just the idea of that person, the potential of that relationship. Let that go so that you can grab hold of something new. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's making a square to Saturn, and this is that energy of you get to deal with something that's going on. Now, it's possible that your partner is getting hit by the eclipse, and so they have some stress in their life, and so they're looking for your support or your help on something, or maybe you are feeling it, and that you are coming together with them, and instead of coming together in a way where you're combative, you are together working something out. The Venus square Saturn has a potential to be quite determined and very detail oriented, where you can really weed out what the true problem is. So I think with this energy, you could really strengthen your relationship. It may feel a little bumpy in the process, but the outcome is good. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Saturn that's in that house, but also, and more importantly, the Uranus, which is part of this eclipse. And so it's telling you that major ideas are happening. Like you're being sent different concepts and ideas to consider. And so that can be, like you hear somebody on the subway say something, the YouTube shows you a different type of video. There is something that's happening that is giving you hints. And so look for themes. Also, though, ask yourself new questions. Uranus is about, thinking outside the box. And so asking yourself very creative questions instead of things like, why can't I handle my money? It would be more of a question of how can I make an extra $1,000 this week? So it is asking questions that could be solved. And when you do that, this is the aspect that would give you inspiration. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from your business, you show that you're probably making more money than usual because the sun is making an opposition to Uranus. And that means that there are customers out there, there is opportunities to find good investments, etc. And you just need to take an action to meet that energy halfway. And so that is that if you are looking for the investments, I think you can find it. If you're looking for the customers, I think you can find them. The sun is in your house of community, and so that is to be out there networking. It is also in the house of technology, so that might mean sending out a newsletter or doing some social media. Now, when it comes to money derived from your career, that house is filled. So that's a really good energy. Plus, when we look at the co-rulers, Mars and Saturn, they're making a trine. And so this is probably one of the strongest times you have for asking for a raise and getting it, negotiating for a higher salary in a job, or looking for a more flexible schedule, looking for a promotion, looking to add members to your team. Whatever it is you want, this is the time to ask for it. Now, don't ask for it on the day of the eclipse. That's November 8th, because that's a day of no energy. But certainly just before that time and after that time, that's a very strong time for you. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and we divide this into two categories. One is that roll of the dice, the highly leveraged, like commodities investing, or, naked cover. They would be like naked calls. There's covered calls and naked calls. So this would be a naked call. Or selling stock short or things like that, versus the other type of risky investment where you put a lot of time and energy into something that you then hope to get paid for in the future. Now, the moon is there doing this lunar eclipse, so you may feel extremely compelled to do something in this area. And so because the moon is conjunct Uranus, it's so volatile that you may be really looking to roll the dice. And so I just want to make sure that you understand that this remains a risky investment. Even when you're doing good energy, it remains a risky investment. And so therefore take all of the precautions necessary don't invest more than you can afford to lose. That said, Venus is making an opposition to Uranus, so you may want to look at what other people are doing and see how that relates to your situation. The Uranus might say that you are doing the opposite of what people are suggesting or what the conventional wisdom states, but because you're doing the opposition, you should really consider whether they're doing might be what you need to do. So do look at that. Now, all of that said, if you're launching something, this could be an ideal time to launch because you have a lot of planets that are in that area of community. And so that means you could reach a large audience. So if you are thinking about, launching your comic book or your app or something like that, this could be the time to say, okay, world, here I am. Again, don't do it on the day of the eclipse. There's no energy on that day. But after that, you could launch and get quite a fanfare. So that's what I would consider. Okay, Aquarius, you guys are doing this lunar eclipse in your area of home, family, and dwellings. And this includes not just the family you live with, but extended family. And so it's possible that somebody in the family is going through something and that you really need to be there for them. And this might mean breaking a lot of your schedule as it is so that you can be there for that person. It's also possible that you're needing to move or that you are unpacking from a recent move, and so everything's kind of chaotic at home. And so with this moon in Taurus, you may be very much looking at your stuff and saying, I just want to get rid of everything. And so this energy could help you really declutter if that's the direction that you wanted to go. If you're looking to sell a house, this could be a time where you're doing that. There's, of course, a lot of opposition energy with a lunar eclipse, and so the other party is going to want to negotiate with you. So this is not them just bringing a pile of cash and saying, please give me your house, but that there is a lot of back and forth, so you want to price that accordingly so that you have room to negotiate. It's also possible that there's something that is going to need to be replaced in your current home so that there's some sort of investment that you're making in your house. And this is an opportunity maybe to rethink how it is that this works. So maybe like if you're replacing a water heater, maybe you're getting an on-demand water heater instead of one of those tank types, or looking at shifting to more solar power instead of conventional ways of getting electricity. So there can be some shifts that would be predicated by something breaking in the house. And so that's what causes you then to look at the other options. I know all of that doesn't sound that great, but this is an eclipse, and eclipses are generally difficult. So the good energy will be coming after this video. It'll be in future videos. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, you're actually doing really good energy, and that is Mercury's making a trine to Uranus. Plus, there's a lot of great planets that are elevated, which means that you are easy to see. So when you put your profile out there, more people see it. The algorithm, puts you on top. When you go out to a club, you are more visible, maybe because where they seat you or what you're wearing, but something is causing people to notice you, and that can bring love to your door, or to you, if it's not a door. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the sun is making an opposition to Uranus, and Uranus is in that house of home and family. So what we got is that you two are coming together to try to work out some things. And maybe you're working out things with each other, or maybe you're becoming a united front to work on things that are external. So, but it is necessary right now that you are coming together, or it's not even necessary, you were just coming together, but you were on opposite sides of the issue before. And so that is that, like maybe we're disagreeing about where to put the TV, but now it's necessary that you find that place and you do find that you agree. So this is a time where you can strengthen the relationship by you compromising a little, they compromise a little, and you meet in the middle. Now, when it comes to your money, you are pulling money from Neptune, which is in your money house, and now Jupiter is as well, and that's the co-ruler. They're both in Pisces. They're both in your house of money. So this is a time where I do see more money coming to you. This might be because you've negotiated a better salary, that you changed jobs and it pays more, that your business is starting to take off, but you show more money coming to you, and so you want to open your arms to receive. This energy is very positive. do visualizations about more money coming in, do prayer and affirmations about this. This is the time to do this. And then this energy will unfold over many months. But I think over the next 2 weeks, you could see some windfall or some money coming to you that is, like maybe it was owed to you anyway, but it's finally here. Now, when it comes to traditional investments and money from your business, you show Mercury banking a trine to Neptune. So things are easier now. Like all of the work that you've been doing is starting to pay off. You're highly visible. That means also your message is visible. So people are visiting the website or they are clicking on the links. And so you have opportunities. You also have opportunities to find good investments. So this is a time where you want to capitalize on that energy. The one little caveat I want to say to you is that a trine is so easy that you can ignore it. And while you have many other energies and things that you need to do, take a little time to spend on your business or on your investments because you could get a real win. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, Neptune is making a conjunction to Jupiter. It's in a money house. You have tons of great planets in your house of career. This is a time to ask for the raise, to ask for the better position, or to negotiate a higher salary when looking for a job. So the energy is quite good. You don't want to miss this. This is the time to ask. I know sometimes you don't want to, like bug the boss and push. But even if you get an initial no, you could get a yes even within this 2-week period because this energy is so good. And then finally, when it comes to risky investments, and we divide these into 2 categories, one is the roll of the dice, the gambling type, where it's really exotic investment, or it's something that could have a big downside, or it's really leveraged. And the other side is where you are putting a lot of time and effort into something and then launching in hopes of getting a paycheck. Now, with Mars in this house, and it's going to be there till next March, you're going to feel quite compelled, especially at times, to work on this area in your life. And so you want to use this Mars to do the big projects, and that is if you're buying a business, to do the due diligence or to really learn your craft. So rather than using that Mars to just say, oh, I'm going to just roll the dice right now. So do be careful where there might be sometimes a compulsion to do something. But for this next 2 weeks, Mercury is... I have to check, sorry. Mercury's making a trine to Neptune, and that trine is getting tighter. And so that means that over the 2-week period, it's going to feel stronger and stronger where you have opportunities. Remember, it's a trine. Trines are easy to miss because they're so easy. But this could be the time to launch what you've been working on, to open your eBay store, or to start your website up and tell your friends about it. Or do a book signing or something like that. So while the energy is easy, you want to capitalize on it because that's where the easy turns into money. Okay, Pisces, you guys are doing this lunar eclipse with Uranus in your house of communication. It also neighbors, siblings, and your vehicle. So starting with communication, this is really asking you to shift how you're speaking to yourself. And then the next would be how you're communicating to the world, etc. But starting with how you communicate with yourself, the Uranus says, try the opposite of what you're doing. So, and that is, if you tend to berate yourself and put yourself down, consider that that might not be motivating for you. And so maybe shift that communication to point out where you are doing a good job, where you have succeeded in the past. I think it should be based on something truthful about you. But I know you can find it. I know you can find those good things. And when you focus on those good things, then they expand. This is also about shifting your message out in the world. And that is looking at how you market yourself, your products, your services, how you're putting yourself out on your resume, or how you're putting yourself out in the world in social media, and looking at doing it in a different way. So, or maybe you're not doing any of those things. Maybe you don't have a LinkedIn profile. Maybe you are, basically hiding from the world, but you do want to maybe write or teach or something like that. It's time to look at how you could promote yourself by doing something different. And for you, that might just be starting the process. When it comes to siblings, do be careful because there may be some sort of difficulty between you and a sibling because they're going through a rough time or you're going through a rough time, and one or both of you are not being empathetic to the other. So that can be contentious. The same with neighbors. If you already have a difficult relationship with a neighbor, you might want to not do something that throws gasoline on that fire. If it's your vehicle, you could be looking to change vehicles and change it very completely, like going to a very small vehicle or going all electric. But it also is that your vehicle could just need some tender loving care right now. And so if you've got a warning light on your dashboard, it's time to do something about it because this eclipse could, cause that vehicle to stop so that you do take care of it. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon is making a sextile to Neptune. So you have a very lovely aspect where if you take an action, there is an opportunity. I love the fact, too, that you have so many nice planets that are elevated, which makes you easier to find. This is especially true if you go to things like spiritual services, lectures, things around education. If you do any traveling, you could easily meet someone, but you just need to get out of the house and put a smile on your face, and that will cause people to be drawn to you. Now, when it comes to your existing love relationship, you actually have very good energy. Mercury's making a trine to Neptune. And so I see a lot of harmony going on for these 2 weeks. You're getting along great. You're almost psychically, finishing each other's sentences. And so you're really of one mind. And so whatever it is you're doing, this is something that you want to remember because it's really going quite well. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Mars, which is traveling through Gemini now for several months. It is down at the base of your chart, and it's making a square to Neptune and Jupiter, your two co-rulers, which means that there are many, many opportunities there, but they're close to home. And that could be that you start with family and very close friends, and you say, what should I do about my money situation? Maybe they can help you with just organizing your finances or boosting your business or taking your business in a different direction or your career in a different direction. So look there first. You could also go even farther back and say, okay, what does my heritage say? What kind of businesses or money-making opportunities are closer to a heritage? And so, that might be doing some import-export if, you live in a different country now, or your ancestors live in a different country. Or this might be something where you say, well, what was that country known for? And so maybe getting into something like that. So I know that one's a little bit far-reaching, but this is about thinking a little bit outside the box, which is Mars square is helping you do. But it also, I can't tell you how important it is to just ask yourself these types of creative questions, because then the universe can send you new answers. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from your business, Mars is making an inconjunct to Venus. And this means that it's necessary right now that you do the harder things. And with Venus up in your house of legal paperwork, I think this is more about, getting taxes done, getting permits done, talking to government agencies, or talking to a banker and getting all of that paperwork done. When you do that, more money can flow in. So look at the thing you've been procrastinating on. It's something you don't want to do. Go and do that thing, and then the money flows. Now, when it comes to money derived from your career, so like a paycheck, it's an entirely different story because Mars is making a trine to Saturn. So there's a true opportunity here for you to get some sort of major perk from your job. That can be that you're getting more money, a better commission schedule, you're getting more customers in, you could get a better position. There's also something here about maybe getting some extra training or school paid for because you have such a strong house of education. And so the one thing that I will say is sometimes we skip a trine because it's so easy. It's almost like you have this opportunity to talk to your boss about it. It pops in your head and you're deciding, should I? If that's coming up, just do it. Just make it happen, because that can open this wonderful door for you. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and we divide these into those things that are highly risky, like rolling the dice, like gambling, like short selling and things like that, or working on something for a long period of time and then presenting it to the world and then trying to get paid. Right now, the moon's not making an aspect to Mars. And so this is the only area where we see you not having that door open at the moment. So this is a time maybe to do some very limited market research, or maybe you need to get more of the paperwork done on the process. Like if you're buying a franchise, you're still going through the paperwork, or qualifying the buyer of your business. Perhaps this is that you're still writing the novel, and so maybe you're looking for a publisher or an editor or somebody to illustrate the cover. These types of things are what you need to work on. I'm not seeing it's a good idea right now to launch this because the energy is not lining up. It will line up in the future, just not right at the moment. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe and stay tuned because LaRue wants to say hi.